Yeah, as you all know that we're here last year, we had an incredible panel of creatives here to speak with you all, and today's not going to be any different. You're in for a real treat. Now, as you all know, Universal Orlando Resort has partnered with Blumhouse for over a decade, starting with the Purge Anarchy Scare Zone in, does anyone know? 2014, very impressive. And since then they've developed houses and streets dedicated to Purge, Happy Death Day, the Black Phone, Freaky, and many, many more, as you all know. And this year we had the incredible opportunity to partner with Blumhouse creatives to develop the Exorcist Believer House. Who's done it? Woo! Yes, incredible. And of course, the Megan Horde, which we just got. One more round of applause for the Megans. Quintessential Horror Nights experience. And then, of course, none of that would be possible without some of our incredible creatives. Please help me welcome to the stage the Senior Show Director for Halloween Horror Nights, Charles Gray. The Assistant Director of the Creative Development Group and Show Direction, Lora Sauls. And, of course, Senior Director of Creative Development, Mike Aiello.
For having us.
Hello. You're two in person. It's exciting. All right, okay, so I'm gonna ask a couple of questions and then we're gonna throw it out and let you guys ask a couple more as well, okay? But reminder, any questions we ask need to be about the current HHN or previous years because unfortunately, we can't get any spoilers. Trust me, I've already tried. Okay, so let's start with the Exorcist Believer. Do you guys wanna talk about what it was like putting that house together this year?
Yeah, this was probably one of the most unique creative processes we've ever had for one of our haunted houses. Given the fact that I got the script for The Exorcist Believer back in, I guess, maybe August of 2022, and read it, did some highlights of some things that could be appropriate for what we know a haunted house needs to be, because again, that application, the adaptation is very specific. And it was actually a year ago yesterday that I sent the script to Charles and Lora with just a assortment of just thoughts and highlights throughout that script of what we felt could be something to attach to from the script itself. Again, no footage, no photography, just the written word is how the process started.
Once we created that framework, it was parallel path, I would say, with while they were shooting, we were creating. So we would get access to day of pictures off the set, which was really fascinating. So you may have a conception of what is on the page, what it looks like in your mind, and then within a day see what it actually was on set. And that was exciting.
Yeah, that's really cool. So it sounds like you were working very closely with everyone on set and talking to them. I'm sure a lot was changing every day, so that's cool. How did you pick what, like, sound bites and stuff that you wanted to use in the house, you know, to help build this story when you had such limited knowledge going into it?
Exciting for me was that we actually got to use the tubular bells. There's a portion of it, a remix of it that to me is great when you walk in the house and you hear that reminder. And then also there's some dialogue that we got to use from the film that was really interesting. Girls screaming is always scary. So, but yeah, so we had some very interesting audio within that too. And then the group was great too with providing us, again, the visuals really set the tone for a lot of the house.
Another really unique thing about the process was we knew going into the creative development of it that our haunted house was going to open well before the film released. So that also places a very unique opportunity and a challenge on the creative process.
Yeah, we knew going into this that we would open, like Mike said, several weeks earlier, so we knew we wanted to do this living, breathing trailer for the film so that you all would get as excited about it as we are when we read the script.
I'm not giving anything away, because I know you haven't seen it yet, but there's a few, I'm very curious for those who've gone through the house, who's walked through the house? Yeah. So keep that house in mind as you go through, because there is some sets that when I was watching, I was like, wow, we did it. Like, we're there. So it's exciting to see those moments.
That's a testament to the design team, who is not here on stage with us, to be able to take all of that reference photography, and a lot of it isn't even from the camera angles that are in the film. This is someone on set literally just documenting all of the set pieces, all of the props, all of the costuming. And so our team then takes those assets and has to decipher them, not only for what we think is going to be of value for the experience, but at the same time, adapted for the viewpoints that we know our guests are going to end up walking through, which in some cases is identical to what the film approaches. In other cases, we're malleable with some of the set pieces so that we can ensure that you, the audience, is the camera at that point and getting the best shot and view of whatever scene is being created.
Yeah, and there's a lot of unique effects in the house. Is there any that are like specific to the Exorcist Believer house this year at Horror Nights?
There's a certain smell that's in one of the rooms, and I'll say no more to that, but
It
yes,
spills out to more than one of the rooms, though.
Yes.
as it does.
We haven't managed how to contain smell into one space without closing it off completely, which we cannot.
So
do.
when you walk in the scene before, you're like, I smell, oh no, I know what scene's coming up next.
I also love the effect in our exorcism scene, for those who've seen it, the under the floor lighting. It is super cool, and I think it's one of the first times we've ever done that. And I thought, the first time I saw it, I was like, this is awesome. This is why we're ramping up, and this is why we're doing this. Our lighting, our effects team, our costuming teams, all just did a stellar, stellar job in producing this house.
And kudos to the characters, because those ladies are killing it.
Extremely hard workers and incredibly talented. Speaking of incredible scare actors, we got to talk about the Megan Horde, because it like blew up this year. Have you gotten a chance to catch it in the park yet?
Of course. So we were so excited that we got to bring this Megan Horde of dancers to life, right? We had an incredible choreographer, Stephanie Robbins, who was inspired by just the taste of what Megan did in the film. We got to use the music. It came together so brilliantly, and we know we don't tell you what time they're coming out. We know that's a thing, but we do that purposefully so we don't block up our streets and cause a pinch point in our flow of traffic. But we know you all know where they're at, because we see you sitting in their locations for hours on end waiting on them. But no, we are extremely happy as how much you all love it, because we love it ourselves, and the girls are just incredible.
They're awesome. And Charles Gray's actually really good at the choreography. He was doing a little bit
Yeah, I was
backstage.
disappointed I made it all the way up to the finals, and then they cut me, but
So close.
I would have been all real hot.
Why don't we go ahead, if you want to open up the questions to the floor, again, reminder about current and past HHN only, please.
Sure, yeah, we'll just by show of hands. There's the first one right there.
We got a mic coming your way.
Oh,
One
yeah, we got
second.
microphones. All right.
Right there in the hat.
If you can talk to me about the creative process compared of what it's like to the challenges, what it's like to bring an IP house compared to an original house.
They're both similar processes. But I guess the biggest difference is when we have an intellectual property, we have most of the time assets to look at. In this scenario of Exorcist Believer, we had script, we had photos coming in, we didn't have as many assets as we usually do. But for like Stranger Things 4, we had the assets for that. We had the ability to do that. So again, it's just making sure we have the assets and all the information we need to do an intellectual property haunted house. From an original content standpoint, we all are honest with ourselves. We love doing those. We love creating those original stories, but the process is very much the same. We make sure we have the team of creators in the room, and we're all kind of spitballing ideas. We also like to say that typically, none of us know who created the idea for our original content, because we're all creating it together. we say that all the time, but really the processes are the same. It's just making sure we have those assets for the intellectual property.
Oh, you hit it.
Next question? In the back right there?
Hi, I was wondering, what's your favorite house that you've worked on, and why would that be? Whether it's like some sort of narrative aspect or some sort of effect, like what's your favorite and why?
It's different every year, but I usually have like a favorite house and then a surprise house, a house that surprised me. Last year, Black Phone completely surprised me because I wasn't sure if the audience was going to respond to, you know, just that singular killer, and it was awesome. Like when I went through there, it was a rare moment where I was very creeped out because I've seen a lot. But that house last year really creeped me out, the Black Phone section.
It's really hard for me to select favorites. It really, really is. And I've said that over and over and over, and most of you have heard me say that over and over and over. But this year there's so many of my favorites. And maybe this year might be on the list of my favorites for future years. I don't know. The Darkest Deal has a really cool story. Yeah, go ahead, Charles Gray. Music guy, you know, created that story. So there are a lot of our original contents that we love, but there's a lot of, Charles, Black Phone freaked me out last year. It was so cool. And then I had the awesome opportunity to work on all the Purge scare zones back in the day, and they were incredible to work on because we did new things in those scare zones that we hadn't done before. So yeah, it's really hard to pick a favorite.
Mine's Chuck Carpenter's Halloween. Not necessarily that version on a Blumhouse, but Blumhouse by way of the 3 films that happened much later, a part of that story. So Halloween. That's my favorite horror film of all time, and creating that house the first year we did it was like walking through a dream.
My favorite was HR Blood and Guts. And it was cute.
Hey!
Right here in the front.
I know you said you don't have favorites, but who's your favorite icon, either just as a character or to work on, like in the past, like Jack or Chance or whoever?
Go ahead.
So I have a history with Jack because I did the very first show. I choreographed the very first show that we saw Jack in. Not Jack that you all know. He was a little bit of a dancer and a capoeira. He was Buff Jack. That was in 2001 before we knew how popular Jack would become. So I have a little bit of a history with him, as well as history with maybe the actor that performs Jack. He and I were in stage shows together. So Jack holds a good place in my heart. And then I will say, creating Dr. Oddfellow was absolutely an honor to do. Like, from the time all of us were sitting talking about, we've never seen this character, we can develop this character, we can make this character his own and have an iconic status. We didn't go into this creating an icon. We went into creating Dr. Oddfellow that could potentially have icon status. And Dr. Oddfellow has done the rest himself. I think he's an icon.
He is.
Yeah.
No, he is.
He is.
He's an icon.
He's an icon.
Gavel hit. He's an
Yeah, yeah.
icon. Official.
Today.
Next question, you could do it right here in the front.
My question is, if you had a chance to do a house that you've done previously and redo it again, what would that be? Like, whether it be you didn't like it last time, not necessarily, but maybe you have a different idea this time around or something. What's a house that you would do again?
So we did the prequel of the thing several years ago. We've never done the original.
You're stealing my mic.
Sorry. A quick story. First time I ever saw the thing was at Charles Gray's house. Years ago, when we used to work at Game Lab together, we were at Nickelodeon. That was the first time I ever saw the thing at his house. And it was like, this is the greatest thing ever!
Original-wise, one of the first houses I worked in was Dollhouse of the Damned, and I just loved it, and I feel like there's so much more story there, so maybe someday in the future, somewhere, but that's a cool house.
Right here.
To you guys, what makes an icon an icon?
Mike?
I was gonna say, you all make him an icon, right? The fact that the guests are loving him, the fact that the guests are responding to him, you all definitely make a character an iconic, have iconic status. But also, it's when our merch partners are like, yeah, we're gonna put him on shirts. And our food partners are going, we're gonna create a hot dog for him. And we were like, what? Okay. And all of our marketing partners are asking us to create, there is an AP card for him. That was the moment for me. When they said, hey, you wanna make an AP card? And all the other icons had their cards, and I was like, oh, it was that moment for me that truly kind of made him have that iconic status. And then it's all of you all coming to the event every night and elevating him to this iconic status.
So if you want to be an icon, you can. Just get a hot dog named after you. Golden.
I think it's, because there was a very, very fervent social media conversation about icons versus non-icons. And the definition I would say too, with all of this as well, is it is a character that has a major impact on the storyline of the event. It's not, I like that character, that's my favorite. It makes an impact. This character makes a definitive impact to the event in some way. That becomes an iconic status. Again, Oddfellow. I would say Boris is an icon because that is a major impact in the event. Pumpkin Lord is an icon. He was your front door. You know, you started as a character in the house, and then again, to Laura's point, you all elevated that character to make us go, we gotta make him the guy that says, hey everybody, come on in, you know?
I should have put that
That was the
line in
original
there.
script, actually. That was the original script. Way on the back there. Sorry.
Do you still get scared in your own houses that you've worked on? And if so, which house is your scariest you've made?
Yeti scared the crap out of me. The first year we did Yeti, there was one moment, and it was the same moment every single time, and I knew the Yeti was there every time, and still got me. I was going through with my son one time, and it was like great fodder for him for a couple of months afterwards, the fact that I got scared by this Yeti character. He just lost his mind.
I think it's when you're kind of just doing your job, right? You're thinking not about the experience, you're just walking through, making sure everything's working, making sure the performers are doing well, and you're in that mindset, and all of a sudden you get hit, by, not literally hit, but never mind, lots of jokes. But yeah, they just pop out, you completely forgot where you are, and then you fall to the ground and start crying.
I also, just a couple days ago, Wednesday, went through the Monster House, and yes, snaps for the Monster House. And those phantoms and hides in there are doing so good that I jumped at every single family. And my reaction, because I don't want them to see, is I clap for them. But now all the characters know that that's my scare, mechanism. When I get scared, I just go, to try to not act scared. But I am still a big scaredy cat.
Over here. I think in the white t-shirt, I think.
How do you guys really decide which IPs go to Hollywood and Orlando? 'Cause I know sometimes we get 5 of them, last year they got Killer Clowns, or this year Evil Dead. However, Orlando didn't. How do you guys decide which properties go to them and which properties go to us?
So that's early in the process, very early in the process. We are very collaborative with the Hollywood team, John Murdy and his amazing creative team. So early in the process, we're very much aligned. So we in Orlando really like to, whenever possible, stick to a 5 and 5. whenever possible. So that would be a reason why we didn't do Evil Dead here this year, is because we really felt we wanted to do these 5 original houses. And Orlando is different than Hollywood in that structure. We very much want to lean into the original content just as much as we are the intellectual properties. So to keep that kind of 50-50 balance when possible. There have been years we've done 6 and 4. Like, we have done that because there was a very good reason why, whether it was we really believed in that brand and really wanted to bring that to the table, as well as the other 5 IPs. But really, again, 5 and 5, we try and stick with as much as possible. So that is the real reason. Go. Who is it? Right there?
Her hands up.
There you are. We
People
see you.
pointing to her.
You are seen.
So my question is, creatively, what was more challenging to make a house? Was it Black Phone or Exorcist?
I mean, they're completely different. Like that we were just saying, like taking the written word and photography versus watching the film. But I will say, like, interestingly enough, when you watch a film, you are seeing what the camera wants you to see. Like Mike was talking about, we're getting photography from the day. So we actually had access to a lot of kind of those Easter egg decor pieces, props, tiny things that really the people on the set noticed, but maybe in editing or something it didn't quite, or it's like in this small part of the frame or something. So we had a lot of access to some really cool decor that we jumped right at. We're like, yeah, let's put that in the house. So there's a lot of detail in the house that matches the film.
All right, I need to ask, what's your favorite scene or moment from any of the Bill and Ted Halloween adventures?
I don't know if I can answer that.
I don't think I can.
There's a lot. There's a lot. Yeah, several of me actually being in the show. Oh, you know what? I'll say it was puppet dying. I think that was probably my favorite moment of the recent years. But I can't talk too much about it because it's with brands that we don't have. Which is, this is a tangled mess. No, that one. That's the one. That's the one.
I enjoyed biting the head off the dove. And then his wife at the time was in the show.
Yes.
And so the bid was, I bit the head off, as I played Ozzy, I bit the head off the dove and then was like supposed to chew it up. But I was like, I can't chew the marshmallow up, it's just not good for me. So I would spit it on the stage, and then she had to come clean it up. So the final show, I put like a massive amount of blood in my mouth. It was like, and she was looking at me like, I hate you. And she's like wiping it up.
I think my favorite part was teaching these two how to dance.
We're movers.
You're great movers.
And
You're
because of
great
that, I
movers.
almost became a
You're
naked
great
issue.
movers. I mean, yes.
Strong mover. And I think we have time for one more question.
Okay, all right. I thought you first.
Are there any movies or original ideas you guys really wanted to make into a house but you weren't able to?
Well, I mean, there are always white whales, as we call them, as far as IPs are concerned, that are still out there that we haven't been able to adapt yet. So I really can't speak to those because they might be things we end up doing in the future. But as far as originals, that's the really wonderful thing about the original content is that's probably the most freeing part of the creative process for us because it really is just our teams in a room throwing everything at the table or at the board. And really it's a curse of riches at that point because there's so many different things, so many different ideas, so many different characters and environments that we haven't really done before. Or juxtaposition is also a really unique aspect of the creative process. Are there things that we can bring, things that are seemingly separate that we can bring together and make something out of? So it's not really anything that we haven't been able to do, it's that we haven't done it yet, you know?
Great answer. Well, thank you all again so much for coming out and answering questions. Everyone, one more time. That was great. Lora, Sauls,